In the LeBlanc meeting, they still can't figure anything out, but they happen to...
Because the information they got was not good enough.
What does he see it as? We don't know, but we have to have him going, I'm going to steer this country to the right place. For them to go, oh, okay, boat.
Hear Shido campaigning outside, so Ryuji thinks it'll be a good idea to run up to him and start yelling at him. When you get control of Joker,
Pause. No, he doesn't. He walks up cordially at first, and then he goes, oh, wait, you're the piece of crap that cut us off, number one, and number two, ruined Joker's life.
Running away, but the game blatantly stops you from catching up to him by having text boxes that automatically stop you pop up every few steps, so you can only reach him as he's starting shit with Shido. Shido looks at both Ryuji.
Hey, yo, Shido! Shido-san! He's respectful! What? He's respectful in his own way. He's still Ryuji, so but at least he's putting an honorific on his name. He didn't walk up to him and go, hey, you piece of crap, and start shoving him.
Haru and Joker and doesn't
that master dude got the right idea.
Insults them and leaves. Wow, the Phantom Thieves sure were lucky that even though Shido had people watching them the entire time after Joker was captured, he never once saw a picture of them.
Where did they say he had them following him? Because as far as the plan goes, the reason they were acting surprised was in case somebody was following them.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember part of their plan being we have people following these kids.
They might.
It might have, yeah. It might just be me not remembering what that is. But he also hasn't shown, like, oh, this is part of the plan. I'm having these people be followed.
And Akechi already says they have no backbone without him. So if he assumes that he's killed, there's no reason to assume that this group of kids are the same people who are the Phantom Thieves.
And there's also no reason to assume that there's a reason for them to be followed. Does Shido know they're the Phantom Thieves? Or does only Akechi?
He doesn't know that they are.
Yeah,
because,
that's what I'm saying.
No, he doesn't.
So a group of kids in front of the building. In fact, he even looks dead Joker in the face. Joker dead in the face. And he goes, what are you looking at?
Doesn't even recognize him. And then that pisses Ryuji off, going, you ruined his life, but you don't even recognize him?
And those guys who were watching you didn't happen to mention anything to Shido.
Again, what guys? It was a perception. I do not remember if they were actually followed. And I wish in this 5-hour video of why this is bad, you would have shown what you were talking about.
There's no time.
But as far as I know, it was only their potentially, hey, maybe we're going to be followed through this, so let's act surprised. Let's not act too suspicious. Mm-hmm. Again, I do not know if they were followed or not. But from what I see and from what I personally remember, I don't think Shido ever went follow those kids.
While you were charging at him. Amazing. Absolutely incredible. Right.
You see how nobody reacts like, oh my god, it's one of them? Maybe because they don't know.
Yeah.
They decide to meet up in front of the palace again. And this time, Joker has a flashback to Shido saying that he wanted to steer the country at the start of the game, so he figured out it was a ship. It seems to me that it would have been much simpler for him to just realize right away after Ryuji walks up to him and talks about setting sail. But what do I know? In the palace itself, they see that Shido thinks of the entire country as being...
So every single way that they can figure something out, a way to get into the palace, is all contrived and bad, and just here's how it dude, what does it matter?
Sunk, and that only his ship and the people inside are worth preserving. So they set off to do the usual pre-palace raid scouting. In the ship, everyone is dressed formally and wearing simple masks, and Makoto says that because of this, we'll blend in even with our attire, completely ignoring how your outfits and masks are completely different from everyone else's and don't blend in at all. Organa tells you to go ask around for information, and when you regroup, you learn that Shido is in the representative's chamber, but to access it, you'll need to have 5 letters of introduction, one from each of Shido's VIPs found all around the ship. With this information, the Phantom Thieves decide to go home instead of actually tackling the palace. That night, you get a phone call from Ryuji, who has a revelation rivaling even Makoto's intellect, telling you that he decided what he wants to do with Shido, and that the thing he wants to do is change his heart. Wow. What amazing logic from Ryuji right here. I'm not sure how the story could have...
He's pumped. You know, I don't care.
moved on without Ryuji's realization that they need to steal Shido.
You don't deserve to use that. You simply don't.
Treasure. It's not like you literally just came back from scouting his palace in preparation to do exactly that or anything. Thanks, Ryuji. Very cool. In the
Pause,
Yeah,
go back.
dude. I just had to. I'm not talking about this.
Sorry,
I'm
I
so
know it's
tired.
late.
Thanks,
I'm tired. I know you're tired, but hear me out just for a sec. He's just talking to him. He's just trying to. What's wrong with just talking to somebody and just getting your thoughts out?
My whole thing is to like pump him up. If there's a
That
heart
too.
we've got to change, it's definitely got to be his.
That too.
Very cool. In the downtime before you go to the palace to take him down, we get some insight from
This is just like when we were doing the power scaling thing. Why do these people reference better creators and not look at their own work and go, huh, mine isn't as good as that?
Yeah, it's very weird. But then again, Red Letter Media is amazing, and that's just like, well, let's not even try to be like them.
conversation where she warns everyone to be extra careful when going to LeBlanc for meetings, since they could have been followed by Shido's men. Just so we're clear then, Shido has definitely had people watching the Phantom Thieves 24/7 since before Joker was captured. But
No.
Where did it say that?
No, we need to be careful to make sure we're not being watched as well. Where does it say that?
Where does it say that at all? He's just implanting something to make the story worse for himself.
he warns everyone to be extra careful when going to LeBlanc for meetings, since they could have been followed by Shido's men. Just so we're clear then, Shido
clear.
has definitely had people
Definitely where?
watching
We
the
need to make sure we're not being followed or watched. So if he 24/7 has somebody watching him, then what do you mean we need to make sure we're not being watched? There's no way for you to make sure you're not being watched. What are you talking about, dude?
Thieves 24/7 since before Joker was captured, but also looked straight at Joker and Ryuji and didn't recognize them. When we finally get to the palace, the group gets started on
Again, does Shido even know who these people are?
No, he's a very take care of it kind of dude. What does he need to see a picture of them for? Take care of it.
finding the first letter of recommendation immediately, and goes to the restaurant where the first VIP is. Getting into the restaurant requires a membership card, but this puzzle simply consists of running around talking to guests until one of them mentions how they dropped their card. And then you go around to every bar in the area to see which one has the card and it's lost and found. In the restaurant itself, Makoto and Ryuji sit at a table and wait until they're approached, at which point
I love
Ryuji
that
gets
pair.
heated and fucks everything up as usual, while Makoto tries to defuse the situation and gets a letter of recommendation without using violence. He reveals that he's the one behind the subway accident at the start of the game, and that the principal died after trying to expose Shido. Makoto tries to blackmail him using her sister's position, but for some reason gives up right away and gets aggressive, triggering the fight where the VIP turns himself
Oh, I
into
wish
a
you would have
shadow.
seen that. I really wish we would have seen that. Because what did he say something to insult her sister? What did he say to make Makoto give up? And I love how he just skipped right over that. He legit just crossfaded into the fight and said, "No, she just gives up."
Now, did he say she gives up or the dude gives up and just gets aggressive?
I don't know. We can go back.
Because you might have just misheard that.
Shido. Makoto tries to blackmail him using her sister's position, but for some reason gives up right away and gets aggressive, triggering the fight where the VIP turns.
Nope, it makes it sound like he's
Yeah.
saying Makoto got.
But again, he just crossfaded without showing context. It's disingenuous, and I hate when he does that. And it's slimy.
himself into a shadow. After the fight, the Phantom Thieves discuss how the cognition turned into a monster, and Futaba explains that this wasn't just a cognition, but a shadow fused with a cognition, amplifying its power. Organa is surprised and says he's never seen anything like this. It warns everyone to be careful since Shido could possibly have a way of messing with his own palace. This seems like a pretty big deal, since shadows and cognition have been a staple for every dungeon up until now, and their fusion should be a significant reveal that makes you question the very fundamentals of the metaverse, but nope, this concept is never brought up again once in the entire dungeon or the game, being one more.
But if it was brought up again, you would have complained that they're just being repetitive with it.
Where else could it be brought up? This is the last palace. And it's brought up again, sure, by the other people, the other VIPs who are shadows and cognitions fused together. They don't need to say it constantly that this is happening.
But again, if they did, you would have complained about it. Just like with the Morgana stuff and the paintings.
idea introduced and then immediately thrown away with no thought.
It's not thrown away. It's
You fight for others.
This fight that we're introduced to the revolutionary mouse hallway puzzles. These are what most of the palace comprises of, and it's like interesting gameplay has been completely given up on by this point in favor of padding the length, because of the puzzle.
Pause. It's a puzzle. What are you talking about? Interesting gameplay? You don't like this game.
On top of not interesting gameplay, you keep talking about how it's repetitive, time wasting,
Yes.
and boring. So we just gave up on interesting gameplay. If you would have said we just gave up on getting potential interesting gameplay, at this point,
Or at least trying.
yeah, you're 72 hours in, kid. You're through trying to think there's interesting gameplay to be found here.
It's a puzzle. What's
It's just like when in Resident Evil 4 when you switched to having to play Ashley. If you went, well, we just gave up on trying to have interesting gameplay because I gotta play as Ashley.
There's a lot of moves, then that must mean it's good, right? These puzzles all consist of long series of hallways and rooms that are all identical and copy-pasted, with some statues of Shido overlooking
It's almost like government buildings are very sanitized and just one big old nothing. Even boats are like
I
that.
was just about to say. What does he want? It's a hallway and a boat. What do you want?
It's very structured. It's not, again, casinos are so different because every floor of casino is completely different. There's slot machines, there's tables, there's all types of What are you doing in a museum? What are you doing on a boat? To liven things up.
certain areas, and when the Phantom Thieves walk into the range of the aura of these statues, they are transformed into very big masked mice, and gain the ability to go into small vents. Much like the airlock puzzles and the space station, every single mouse hallway section in the entire palace is solved by walking forward and interacting with every object you see for the first time when passing it. And when you hit a dead end, go backwards, doing the exact same thing until the way forwards opens. Then repeat as many times as necessary until you're at the end of the area. These puzzles are more annoying than anything, and the game goes out of its way to nonsensically halt your progress, which only draws this section out.
Nonsensically?
He sees people as mice, so in front of his statues, they become mice, and then you must turn off the statue, and thus not become a mouse anymore. It makes sense, and I thought it was a pretty good puzzle. You know, you can't progress here. You gotta go through the vent here and go here and into this back room to change. No, I thought that it was good.
Even longer. Every time you turn into a mouse or back into a human, every single door in the area closes because most of the puzzles could simply be solved by going through previously opened doors as mice.
All doors close every time you go through them throughout the game.
Humans can open doors, and if they stayed open, the palace wouldn't be nearly as long. The game gives no excuse whatsoever for these doors closing, and it's just
The doors
Yeah,
have
doors
always
can't close.
closed.
Doors. The game gives no explanation why doors close. It's a plot hole. This ruins the game. It's stupid. No.
Do you want them to turn and go, why are the doors closing? And then you would have just been like, what a dumb reason. I guess gray matter, big brain, Persona 5 writers.
time wasting. Enemy
Blatant time wasting.
shadows aren't the one closing the doors on their patrol, because the doors still stay open after you beat all the enemies and they don't respawn. And when you're in human form, the doors will stay open forever, only closing once you turn into a mouse. There are 8 members of the Phantom.
I don't remember doors ever staying open.
I don't either.
Can you show this in your footage or?
Be nice.
So even if the doors have some sort of system where they automatically close once the mouse aura around the statue triggers, you could just ask a single member to stay out of the statue's range and hold the door open. But no, every single member has to be glued to Joker so they can...
What happens if they get ambushed while waiting at a door?
Yes, by themselves. I like how he's still using his big fist monkey team.
turn into mice at the same time, despite you never being able to engage in combat as mice. It never makes sense to ever have more than one member turn into a mouse at any given time. So I guess Akechi was right about the team having...
What happens if that person gets caught? And then they just have no way of finding them.
Yep, they're just gone.
Without Joker? In the ship's hallways, we also get to wonder how in the world loading zones were chosen for this palace, since some doors trigger loading zones and others seemingly don't at random. There have been some massive areas before, but in the ship, one continuous hallway...
Are you really mad that there's loading at certain points and not others?
He most certainly is.
Can have up to 3 different loading zones. The loading zones don't even signify new areas with independent puzzles either, because the switches you can press to toggle the mouse statues on and off persist between loading screens. My absolute favorite is this one section of the hallway that's a small shaped L. You can make your way from one door to the other in about 3 seconds. No enemies spawn here, but for some ungodly reason, both of these doors in the hallway trigger a loading zone. There is no
Stop saying loading zone.
That's fine.
feasible
Yeah, no,
explanation
but that's weird. Yeah.
for why
I
this is
wouldn't. I wouldn't have.
I wouldn't think about it.
10 seconds on this.
Yeah, I wouldn't even. I didn't think about this at all when I played the game. And after we're done with this video, I will never think about this again.
the case, and it's completely baffling. This whole area is nothing but annoying, monotonous, time-wasting crap that requires no thinking to complete, and it's reused between every single VIP target. Remember in the casino where there were 4 different
Monotonous,
areas that were all unique in
time-wasting.
some way? That was peak.
You know why? Because casino's real unique. You want them to go to the shuffleboard area of the ship?
And it's a battle. You said that was. I forget what his exact words.
Arena or whatever.
Yeah, no, the arena. But he said it's just a battle, and it is.
Oh yeah. He was like, it's a. Oh yeah.
I forget what his exact words were. I don't want to misrepresent them, but I remember it not being favorable.
It wasn't cliche, but it was something around that area.
Dungeon design in Persona 5. After the mouse hallways, we make our way to the pool deck to find our second VIP.
This is a different area.
No, it's not.
This looks different.
No.
What?
Yeah, dude.
No. I'm not letting this go. No, you literally just said it's monotonous, boring, whatever. And remember, there were 4 floors, and then you go to a second floor, and it's a pool area. You go for the second VIP, and it's a pool area. It's a different location. Dude, what are we doing?
The whole area looks good, resembling a real luxury pool with a bar and lounge chairs everywhere. The only weird thing is that the pool is strangely empty, and that there only seems to be a couple character models that don't even move, and are slightly rotated to look different in the pool. One is even clipped into the ground here. Regardless, the VIP is a womanizing noble who completely ignores you when you try to ask for his letter of recommendation, and so obviously the plan is to acquire some swimsuits and seduce him. Like last time during the Madarame arc, all the girls are clearly uncomfortable and state that they don't want to do this. This scene is also supposed to show that Anne is grown as an actress, which was one of her weaknesses at the beginning of the game, and this is supposed to show her arc as now being a good actor, despite the fact that she's still as terrible as she was at the beginning of the game.
Terrible based on what?
Yeah, I don't.
That old dude fell for it, and this
Why is she just terrible? What do you mean?
Yeah,
If she fell for it, doesn't that mean she's gotten better?
Yeah. What are you talking about? She tricks him, and she put on a British accent that was at least acceptable.
wonderful arc of hers concludes with her getting groped by him. What an amazing arc for this character.
Groping is a bit hard. I grabbed, but he's just trying to make it seem a lot more harsh. But
Yeah, and she was very confident before the very second she was touched. And then she loses all of that because she does not want... She understands what she has to do to progress. But there's still a limit to where she will go. She was never going to get nude for Yusuke. That was not part of the plan. No. Her being touched by this guy is not part of what she's willing to do.
And also, as you're showing right here, being propositioned for sex. When they got what they wanted.
Right where she started, getting sexually harassed. They actually managed to get the letter, though, without having to resort to violence. But then they start a...
Yeah, she got sexually harassed. That's where she's not comfortable. Women are not comfortable being sexually harassed.
And I love, again, how he just cuts out the point where she goes, "Don't touch me," and tells him off. I remember that part.
And isn't that growth? Whereas before she was just doing whatever Kamoshida wanted to do to help her friend and everything, and now it's just like, do not touch me.
Dude.
Anyways, this is clear.
Isn't that an amazing end for the character arc? to go, I'm gonna stand up for myself against a sexual harasser.
Even though it leads to a fight against an improved Shadow.
To violence, but then they start a fight anyways. This is clearly because combat is the only interactive mechanic in the game, so they felt they need to use.
Yeah, that's why. Not because she was sexually harassed and got angry about it.
Yes.
Not because whatever happened with Makoto, probably her sister being flagged. Oh,
but
that person. We don't know because you cut it out. You piece of disingenuous crap.
Use it for every VIP, but it's also pointless when they already have what they.
Yes, the fight starts because. Yes, the fight starts because. Done. Yes, the fight starts because he was getting creepy with An.
And
but the game could have just ended the scene with them getting the letter and leaving instead of An getting harassed again. He's a piece of crap character. Is it just gonna go, thank you, okay, I'll meet you in that room over there? The game absolutely could have, but it didn't. And because it didn't do what you wanted it to do, it bad.
while showing growth for Anne.
Stop saying Anne.
He should stop saying Anne.
What did he say? Akamura?
Akamura, yep, Akamura.
4. It's like with the boss fight with Futaba's mom. On top of that, this section once again trades story consistency for the sake of comedy, because it breaks the rules we know of
How? When she got mad that she was getting sexually harassed? They didn't want to do this, but she acted good, unlike before, got the letter without violence, and then got touched and said, do not touch me. What is broken from before? Complete growth for An.
Anne.
in the Phantom Thieves' attires work. It's always mentioned every time that you go into a palace that they only change from their normal clothes into their Phantom Thieves outfits once the palace owner sees them as a threat. And this happens automatically with their masks and outfit magically appearing on them, usually when they enter the palace's main building, even before
I love when he walks up and I love
That's
it!
a good one.
Oh, I love this!
the palace's main building, even before they interact with anyone or anything. We also know that all of their masks are glued to their face and they had to rip them off in order to summon their personas.
The first time.
Had their masks on their head before in the pyramid escape cutscene, but this was also a 2D animation, which we already know isn't accurate to the gameplay at all. And their models always have their masks on in the palace. I don't really understand how their masks are supposed to stay on if they're not glued to their face. They don't seem to have any straps or...
Oh my god! It's a cognition. It's how they're perceived.
Glued to their face.
They're summoning magical beings from their soul. You think a mask falling off is a problem? My dude!
anything to hold them on, but I guess it's just video game physics, like how guns and swords just magically hold on to people's backs. So I assume the animated cutscene really was a mistake, like the desolate pyramid.
Oh
Here,
my
the girls
goodness.
all change into swimsuits effortlessly and even take their masks off, which also doesn't fit because everyone in the ship is wearing a mask, even the people in the lounge and in the pool. So the
Yeah, they should have kept their masks on. That's a good point.
Yeah.
VIP without masks on should immediately arouse suspicion and cause them to
That's
be
suspicious.
kicked out
The waiter doesn't have a mask on.
Good point.
by the palace. The worst part is how when they get ready to fight the VIP, their Phantom Thieves outfits pop right back on them again, presumably.
Because they're a threat
This
now.
guy's a molester, she screams to everyone. And then he goes, "You're threatening my position."
They're now seen as a threat, but that means they weren't being seen by Shido before?
No, they weren't being seen by this guy as a threat. Or maybe not Shido. I don't know.
But then again, they did change into their phantom outfits once they entered the boat.
Possible because Shido sensed them as a threat immediately as soon as they entered the palace. The VIP also doesn't seem to be connected directly to Shido and the alert percentage doesn't rise, so Shido doesn't even know about this battle. Morgana also explains at the start of the game that their clothes are special to protect them from being affected by distortions. So even if they could take their clothes off, they really shouldn't do that while they're inside the heart of the most distorted person in all of Japan. Is there a single fucking idea in this game that's internally consistent and doesn't get ignored for the sake of comedy or drama. Who knows? Probably not, because everything I've listed up until
Hold on.
not.
I couldn't read what he just. What did Morgana say there?
Well, he cut it out, so it wasn't important.
It was so fast, and I'm trying to. Even going back a second, I can't even catch it. Look at.
Oh my goodness.
So what did Morgana say after that? Everything contradicted at some point. Treasures, teleporting to the metaverse, how outfits work, calling card for mementos, targets, changing hearts, palace disappearing after steal treasure. I guess stolen treasure should have been there. Search memento targets on app, cognition, reason for targeting
Akamora, that's his name.
palace simulating real weather conditions, and so much more.
No. This is a false list that we have gone through and debunked very, very thoroughly, I feel. I feel like Manga Comment will take specific
Extra care.
with this scene, especially. But Palace disappearing after steal treasure, that's false right there, because you said that the treasure wasn't stolen. That's you're wrong. Cognition, what do you mean by that? You're not telling us anything with that. Treasures, again, you're just going treasures. This video was contradicted by audio. Moving on.
Because everything I've listed up until now hasn't, so why should anything else
Everything
be?
you
After this
listed.
fight, we get to traverse some more mouse hallways while making our way to the slot machines to meet the third VIP. On the way to the slot machine, there's a brief run-in with the chief of security for the ship, but we don't get a chance to see much of him. The
Who
third
doesn't
VIP
have
is
a
TV
mask
station
on.
president, and Haru tells us that he will only have a letter of recommendation to companies who sponsor him. Thankfully, Haru is with you and tells him who she is, and the VP reveals that he owes a great deal to her dad, so he gives her the letter without any trouble. He continues to insult Haru's dad for going against Shido's wishes after giving away the letter, and instead of walking away, with her objective being
He's making fun of her dead father. You think she's not gonna lash out at this, my guy?
Get that garbage out of here. This shows such strength for Haru going, you don't insult my dad. What are you talking about? If he did just walk away, he would have been like, oh, he just walked away when he was insulting her dad and she didn't even feel anything.
Haru instead gets angry at this fake person. At least it's kinda understandable here because the death of her father is still a fresh wound for her, but it's still pointless that we have to fucking fight after we got what we came for. After you whoop his ass,
I would fight him. I would want Haru to fight him. If there was a choice like, hey, are we going to fight him? Like, absolutely we going to fight. We're not walking away from this piece of crap.
information to you.
This is like going, spoilers for One Piece. This is like going that, Chopper's fight, with, Kamari, is pointless in CP9 because they had already gotten the key, so why is he fighting him? The story dictated fight. I didn't go, this is pointless! Why him fighting? Just leave! Dude, I don't...
This time that both Kaneshiro and Madarame were also funding Shido because nothing in this game can simply...
Yeah! Funding! Who cares? Does that mean that Shido was shaking hands with them? There's a lot of companies that fund Trump.
Or was there just an account that money came and went from?
exist by itself. It all has to be connected back to Shido in some way.
No, this is not like, and this is spoilers for Sherlock. This is not like Sherlock, where every arc of the first series is just like, oh, Moriarty, oh, Moriarty, oh, Moriarty's looking at you, oh, Moriarty says his regards. Everything was done at the hand of Moriarty. They gave him some money
the story
to his campaign. They didn't hand Shido money personally.
The story would have persisted without that money changing hands anyway. It's just a way to connect him with everything that's been going on.
Shape or form.
He's the final boss. It's to make it just go, okay, he has connections with everybody as opposed to he's coming out of nowhere and we're not connected with him. Didn't you say that was an issue already?
It all has to be connected back to Shido.
Oh yeah, now it's a problem that is more personal for the Phantom Thieves.
perform because it's definitely not completely unnecessary. There's also a cutaway to Akechi giving an interview on TV where in the middle of it, time just stops and he has an internal monologue about how hard his childhood was and how he crafted his image from a young age, which is an okay backstory by itself, but it's shoved.
No, it's not. This is to give him sympathy. Goro.
Yeah, I don't like him.
In last minute because he's gonna die in the next scene he's in, and the game hasn't characterized him at all to be sympathetic in any way, shape, or form, and we know nothing about him.
Yeah, because before he's just being a detective trying to catch you. After that, he's in Shido's pocket just being a piece of killing you, and then finally it's just like, oh, now it's hard. When was the time to humanize this person? Yeah. Because if you humanize him before his heel turn, you make people hate him, and now they don't feel bad about him dying. Now it's just like, oh, I understand him, why he did the things that he... No.
I think this is also why they gave him an actual social link in Royal, just to get a little bit more of that, which I skipped.
He's a fake detective, and they had to shove it in somewhere, so...
But what happened to all that him so smart stuff you were talking about before? All that great detective work he was doing
that
before.
was 4 hours ago, so you're not going to remember that.
I guess not.
Here because fuck you. After some more mouse hallway, we get yet another encounter with the security chief, and we make our way to the 4th VIP, who's an IT company president and a recluse who never leaves his room.
Hey, that lady doesn't have a mask
on.
Way to access his room is by climbing around the outside of the ship and entering his cabin through the balcony. And it just so happens that when you get to his room, his balcony is the only one with the door open. How convenient, since Futaba is
so that you know where to go instead of just another room with an explodable thing that you get a trinket for.
Expert, she's the one who confronts him, and after Futaba shows off to the VIP a bit, he reveals that he was the one who set up the fake Medjet threat. And the plan was always to shut it down before the deadline so the Phantom Thief's popularity can grow no matter what. So Futaba was completely unnecessary to the whole story. Futaba at first offers her skills in exchange for the letter, but eventually gets mad at him for the way he talks about the internet and triggers a fight as usual. Do none of these people remember that everyone in this palace is fake? They could just agree with whatever the cognition said, take the letter, and leave.
It's almost like they're emotional 15 to 17-year-old kids being told that something they love or care about is she, and they're lashing out, acting emotionally.
Almost.
Them does nothing except make you waste time and your
waste
time. There it is again. Yeah.
Hey, people that enjoyed these fights. You wasted your time.
Your time is wasted.
Worthless.
I'm telling you that your time is wasted.
The boss fight. I'm surprised that Makoto doesn't actually voice this to anyone else with her genius intellect. After the fight, we learn that the VIP was the one.
I love how he just did Lucky Punch and missed and wasted a turn. I love that. That is fantastic. That is this entire video. And you fool, you didn't even cut it out.
Holy shit! I like how you use Lucky Punch and missed. Oh man, that's too good.
Original research Futaba's mom did on the metaverse, and we get a cutaway to Shido being very aggressive with Akechi. Boy, it sure is convenient that all in this one day, Shido has had time to contact all of his closest allies, and Akechi had time to be on a TV interview, as well as taking requests from Shido. The final VIP comes shortly afterwards, and he's...
What does that mean?
A phone call takes 5 minutes. A TV interview takes an hour and a half.
You've been seeing around the ship, when asking him for a letter, and suggests that Yusuke should design a tattoo for him.
I love how why isn't he talking about how all of these people's talents and skills and personalities and traits are helping in these situations? Because that's really, really good.
But when the VIP asks Yusuke to be his permanent tattoo designer in exchange for the letter, he declines, and the battle starts once again. For the last time, They're not fucking real.
But he's not gonna go against his artistic desires to just go, I'm not gonna be just some artist monkey for you for cash. I know what my art means, and I'm not gonna betray that. He's such a driven person. He's going, no, absolutely not, fake person. Screw you.
The worst part about all of this is how drawn out all of it is. For every single fucking one of these targets, you had the chance to get the letter without fighting. Most of them had already been acquired before the game forces you into combat encounters anyway. Makoto's blackmail in the restaurant, the bikini seduction at the pool, Haru's connection to the casino, Futaba's technology for the IT guy, and Yusuke's design skills for the Yakuza leader, all of it was worthless.
That guy's not wearing a
Just
mask.
another fucking way to waste the player's time again. If the fights were always going to happen, why even bother with the pretense of attempting to get the letter without fighting? Why not just sneak up on all the VIPs? It would have made no difference at all for the events of this dungeon. It's so unfitting for all of these characters who have been emphasized.
Maybe it's to showcase the characters and their strengths.
And their skills and their ability to talk to people and
Game that cognitions are worthless, and it means nothing in the real
They're not worthless. Oh, they mean nothing in the real world. Okay.
world. To only now ignore that and fight all of them for literally no fucking reason. In the space station, even
because they were insulted, personal insults. An went through sexual assault already, so of course she's gonna be angry about that. Haru and her dad, Yusuke and his art. These make sense.
understood that Haru's cognitive fiance had no relation at all to the counterpart in the real world, and yet here every other character is
Yeah, because they're insulted.
Yes.
acting dumber than he is. For all of Akechi's terrible deductions in his work as a detective, at least he had enough brain cells to figure out that he could
Terrible
just borrow as many
deductions? I
chips
thought
from
he was
Sai's
smart.
casino as he wanted without paying them back, since none of it was real. It's been nearly a full year of invading palaces, and these people still forget or ignore basic principles about how it
They're mad because they were insulted.
There's nothing wrong with that.
the letters of recommendation. The dungeon is finally done, and we could send the calling card to end it all. But not before we have one final encounter with an old rival.
What's wrong with that?
Akechi reveals that he was only working for Shido because he's his bastard child and wants to kill him when he's at the top. He makes some shadows go berserk in a fight, and then when he looks to be beaten, reveals that he's actually the Black Masked Man who was going around killing people in the metaverse. Everyone is surprised by this reveal, and Makoto says, "So you're the one behind the mental shutdowns after all." But I have to ask, who exactly did they think was behind?
It's confirmation,
That's all.
not a revelation. Confirmation. Because they didn't really have proof that it was him. This is confirmation.
Especially considering that he's wearing white as opposed to black, and you know,
A red
changing
mask.
they're changing their outfit, so they're just like, why would he be able to change his outfit? Wouldn't make any sense.
Why is he allowed to change his outfit, but they're not?
I wonder if he's gonna get into that.
the killings if it was not Akechi? They've known Akechi has been going into the metaverse since near the start of the game.
Yeah,
Yeah, but
no.
did he have any accomplices?
Two people did it,
Yeah.
and are they the only people that can go into that verse?
Does he have any accomplices? What? We don't know exactly.
Entire image as a detective is fabricated by
Yep.
solving cases he himself created. They know that he was already ready to
No, not that he himself created. They don't know that he created them. Or again, they have a strong belief that it's him, but this is again confirmation.
kill Joker with no remorse after acting like he was on your side. And they know that he was working directly under Shido, the guy who orchestrated every mental shutdown and all the events of the entire game. Did they somehow think the Black Masked Man
Confirmation,
Yes.
not revelation.
And then just seeing something completely out of the ordinary, like him changing his entire outfit, mask, persona, of course it's going to be shocking.
And was a different mysterious Persona user who they didn't know about yet?
Yes,
They know
it
that
could have been.
Absolutely,
Because he is a mysterious Persona user that they formerly did not know about. So who's to say that there's not more? The MetaNav app just appeared on Joker's phone. Who's to say that it can't appear on other people's phone? They don't know this.
multiple personas, and apparently if the pool scene is anything to go by, they can change their clothes for some amount of time while they're in a palace. So would it be that much of a stretch to think that someone as deceitful as Akechi...
So now it's not a problem. So it's a problem when you needed it to be, and it's not a problem when you need it to be.
This is terrible.
would also be hiding more personas or changing his outfit to mask himself when
Pause.
killing people?
We know one person that can change their personas.
And guess what? When he changes his persona, his clothes don't change.
And also, they were just like, "What the? How can Joker do that?" And nobody knows. And now we have, what is this? 6 people with one, 7 people with one persona, and now a whole nother person who can switch personas come in, and they're supposed to be like, "Oh yeah, of course he can do that."
People, come on, Makoto, you should have had this one figured out already.
Up.
He hates Makoto.
I'm so sick of this.
I just don't get it.
Wants to fight again in his true form, but still loses to the Phantom Thieves, and when he's down on the ground, they ask him to join them. Everyone starts mentioning...
Nope. No, I'm whatever. Screw this. Screw this whole thing. This whole Akechi thing. It always just soured me.
Yeah, they're trying to save him. That's all it is.
He has his own motivation. He did wrong things, but I guess they're thinking that I'm not defending this.
Yeah. I hate Goro, so. And people in the comments can go,
you guys could time stamp and revisit this for us, please.
good things about Akechi, saying that things don't need to be this way. And once again, I'm left wondering, what is the deal with any of the main characters or the story? Makoto says that Akechi was working alone and has far greater wit and strength than you. Yusuke says that he excelled at everything over us, making a point that the only thing that gave them the edge was their friendship.
I thought you weren't gonna...
No, he has much greater wit and strength. Wit, I don't know, but strength, it took at least 4 people to take him down. At least 4 people. If we're to assume that you can switch and everything, it took 7, 8 people to take him down. With a dude who can switch personas at will. He's one dude.
And as far as size palace, they would have been pretty stuck at the moment.
Yes. Any one person in this group outside of Joker would have been killed by him going one-on-one. So he factually does have greater strength.
But both of these things are provably untrue. Akechi wasn't significantly stronger than any of the Phantom Thieves in battle. He got...
That's fake. Because you are 4v1ing him. With an ace up your sleeve.
...started by them when he wanted to capture and kill Joker. Akechi also had Shido on his side.
Yeah, it took 7 people to come up with a plan.
The single most...
A literal magical plan.
...person in the entire country. So he's far from being completely alone. Meanwhile, Haru says that she's...
He is alone! Wait, let me hear what he said. I just wanted to go past this point.
...on his side, who is possibly the single most influential person in the entire country. So he's far from being completely alone.
He is alone! Just because he has a partner doesn't mean he's not alone!
His partner that does not accept him for who he is. He just
nor
sees
care
him as a
about
tool. Literally, within the next 5 minutes, he goes, "Oh, here's my cognition of you, Akechi. He's gonna kill you once this is all done." And Akechi kind of just goes, "Oh, okay, that makes sense."
That you're acting like extroverted people cannot be lonely. Or feel they're alone.
Haru says that she sympathizes with him and wholeheartedly understands wanting to get back at the adults who took from you. And Futaba says that she totally gets why he acted the way he did, while being fueled by hate. These seem like pretty tame reactions, considering that he's the person who killed their parents in front of them. Akechi single-handedly...
Yeah, I can't defend this point.
Yeah, it's weird. I've always thought that whole thing was weird.
Yeah, I always thought it was so ham-fisted of just trying to make you like Goro and No.
Yeah. Yeah, no,
He's a piece of and I hate him.
Yeah, always.
Yeah, you will hear no defense of this.
Futaba's entire life by killing Futaba's mom and making
We might as well just go past this because I'm not. There's nothing to defend. I'm not defending this.
her think that it was suicide caused by her, which was only made worse by the government workers berating her for
This is one of the times you can play your banjo and carnival music because this to me is legitimately bad. And it's one of the only places in Persona 5 I will go, this is legit bad.
Yes.
one of only 2 people who actually cared for her, and her death caused her to become a shut-in, start hallucinating, and get past the...
We know this!
No, you don't.
Dude, you spent roughly 7 minutes on her palace. Who knows? I'm sure it was less than a confidant. But we know this information. Why don't you? Okay, you've said that you couldn't make this any shorter. Why didn't you go based on everything we know about Haru through her palace, which we do know because you showed. But then you go, oh, they said such and such and they did such and such. It's definitive that people are following them, but you show nothing of it. You showed this for 7 minutes. We know. Just go based on everything we know about Futaba. Based on everything we know about Haru. This would cut out 2 minutes of this video. And if you do it consistently throughout the video, this probably could have been 3.5 hours instead of 5.
who kept her caged up and didn't...
No, we know!
Killed her from neglect. Despite all of this, Futaba acts surprisingly chill and isn't bothered at all by everyone else just trying to befriend him.
She had
As she
changed
forgot
her.
about when she first joined the Phantom Thieves and said that her only goal was finding out what really happened to her mother and that she didn't care about changing hearts because her answer
She did
is
find out what happened. She says she wants to find out, and she did find out. That's her goal. Accomplished.
in front of her. There's the murderer. And she just goes, yeah, I totally get why you killed my mom. Haru also has
Yeah,
one
no,
single
yeah.
line saying that she doesn't forgive him for what he did to her dad, which seems like an underreaction when talking about a life-changing event that turned her world upside down and left her with no immediate family.
But, so you want them to get angry now, but you were mad that Haru got angry before and fought that dude.
Dude! 100%! He wants both things!
They've already beaten him. They've already accomplished the goal. Why not just leave the palace?
Yes! Dude.
As well as having to deal with a company she doesn't know how to run, suffering from a business and...
We know all of this!
No, we don't. This is new information!
and an abusive fiance. She's also the most concerned out of all of them when Akechi is in danger. If she can look past that, then I wonder what it would take to actually make her mad. The last two to react
We know. Talking about her father.
Yes.
are Ryuji, who pretty much ignores Akechi and casually asks him what he wants to do, and then Anne, who extends him an invitation to join the party. Ryuji's reaction is totally out of character. Every single time Akechi has come up, he can't stop talking about how much he hates him. Hell, he even talked shit about Akechi earlier in this very dungeon, after the fight with the TV station president. But now that he's beat Akechi into the ground, he doesn't say anything bad about him at all? That's not something that Ryuji would do. Anne's line is also strange, since she's not a decision maker or a planner for the Phantom Thieves, but asks Akechi if he wants to join anyways, and doesn't even check to
Pause.
see...
She's not going, you are a part of us now. She said, do you want to join alone? If he goes, yes, the next thing is a conversation of, do we let him join? He clearly wants to join us, as opposed to him going, no, screw you, I'll kill you all. And then you go, okay, that's done. That's a done deal. But if he goes, yes, and then you go, okay, he would be an asset to join us, and he has a grudge against Shido. Maybe we should let him join. And a conversation starts off. Joker is not the end all be all of, we are doing this.
No,
Not-
Makoto
nor
is. She's the leader.
Neither is Makoto. I was about to say.
Oh, my bad.
Yeah.
As far as Ryuji goes, we've seen, you yourself has said that he's grown through the confidant, and then it was a repeat with the Joker phone call. So should this not be seen as his growth to go, I'm not gonna say you to Goro right at this moment?
What?
I'm not defending this.
If the 2 people whose parents he killed were okay with this. What a great friend. Really considering everybody else's feelings. But I guess
Pause. They Futaba said, no, I dig it. And Haru said, I have no intention of forgiving you, but I sympathize with you. They already were just like, they're not as hostile as they should be. So it's understandable why they would maybe allow him to join.
That's like saying, why should Harley Quinn join the Justice League when she's murdered a lot of people?
I'll say this, in the extra month in Persona Royal, they are having none of Akechi.
Beautiful!
They're just like, you take a single toe out of line and you're done. And I'm like, yes. All of that.
Fan thieves work because when have they ever considered Anne's feelings?
Oh my
After everyone's had a
goodness.
chance to react to Akechi, Shido's cognitive Akechi comes out of nowhere ready to kill him.
Listen, we don't cotton to freaks round these parts. Scram, weirdo. Oh yeah? I don't polycotton to coping tropes, even my own. So why don't you split? Looks like I already did. You're the sad figment of my twisted psyche's tragic dividend. You're the me. I'm the real me. You wanna be me, kiddo? I was the real me when you were still in my short pants. Hate to break it to you, but I wore them first. Me bequeathed thee pathological hand you down. So you're the one who stained them. Whoever found it.
The cognitive Akechi
Xavier Renegade Angel is like one of those things where it's like, oh, that was hilarious.
Yeah. It's so weird because you look at it when it was on, it was just like, but no, that show is ridiculously funny.
I appreciate that reference, sir.
is
You get a
completely
point.
subservient to Shido and
No.
No, now he's down to a -10.
No, this is still Hall of Fame material.
No,
bro.
100%.
killed the real Akechi for all the mental shutdowns he's caused, which causes Ryuji to respond with anger since that bastard was the one that put him up to it, and Makoto reacts with surprise about Shido's view of Akechi after making him help him with the murders. Both of these statements frame Akechi as someone who was forced to kill others by Shido, but Akechi himself has said that he was doing it because he wanted to catch Shido off guard, and actively killed people before he even worked for Shido to prove his worth to him. Shido
whatever.
didn't make Akechi do anything. He followed through with the murders of hundreds of people because he wanted
Not
to.
defending or
He made the
arguing
choice
against
to do what
hundreds.
Shido
You don't
asked
know
him.
hundreds. What are you
Akechi
talking
is not
about?
someone who deserves sympathy here. He's a mass
Sure isn't.
murderer.
Why are you playing the Phoenix Wright music?
Detective. Naoto Shirogane.
And it feels like the game is trying to make Akechi seem more sympathetic by including lines like these, even
Yep,
when he's
100%.
clearly a selfish bad guy. Akechi
100%.
then shoots a button on a
It's
wall,
dumb.
which makes
I
a
hate it.
blast door shoot up, separating the group from Akechi, and then he sacrifices himself for literally no reason.
Yep.
And everybody is sad that this mass
Yep,
murderer
sure is.
decided he didn't want to be in this shitty game anymore, so
Yep,
he
I
wrote
hated it.
himself out of it. He mentioned that if he had joined you, it would only slow you down. I guess that's supposed to mean canonically Morgana doesn't have any healing magic, but he can see the numeric values of friendship you have between all
Does he mean?
Phoenix down, Aries.
the people you know. Akechi also just got beaten by the Phantom Thieves, so if he could kill the cognitive Akechi, then that means he should be no problem for anybody in your crew. As this happens, everyone starts saying Akechi's name and trying to
Why? You just said cognitions for nothing. He killed a cognition.
Yep. One that didn't appear to have any kind of persona or anything. He just had a gun.
how they could raise the wall to help him, but he dies like a bitch.
Good. I was thinking of the Avengers when I saw that case. Yeah, okay, we get it.
I don't get it. Oh, Avengers!
After asking
that
everybody
was
to change
perfectly
Shido's
timed.
heart for him. This makes everyone angry for some reason, and Haru even says that he entrusted us with such an important task, as if
Were you just skipping that? And that why you had to loop that footage instead of just letting her talk? Like, were you just did you just hit start?
they weren't going to change his heart already, and Akechi actually only got in the way of you changing Shido's heart. I think his sacrifice is supposed to be his redemption, but it's hard
Yeah, it's supposed to be. It sucks. No, it's for him.
character as stupid and shitty as Akechi.
Yep.
With Akechi out of the way, the
Oh, that was funny.
Yeah, I laughed.
finally makes their way to the treasure and then leave to send the calling card. There's a text conversation in the real world where they go back to talking about Akechi, and they say that he was a victim too, and get sad
Yes.
that they couldn't save him. And Yusuke even says that if it hadn't been for you, he may have become like him as well.
Yep.
So the reason for them being okay with Akechi is that they all think that he was Shido's victim too, but that doesn't really explain them looking past all of the murders that he willingly did, including those of their family members. Aren't they supposed to be working?
He's a victim too. It's just like you get this a lot in series or movies or whatever, where it's somebody that has been grown up from a piece of person, and they do things, but you want to save them. Just like Kick-Ass, the little girl, Hit Girl. She grew up just in this world of being a superhero, even though she never had a normal life, she never had anything. And it's just like, she's a victim of her father, her idealized version from her father. People can be victims and be and victimized. Just like there's so many, this is very trigger warning, sexual abuse trigger warning stuff. I'm gonna talk about it, but I'm not, there's no real story here. It's just like when kids are victims of sexual abuse and they go on to become murderers or sexual abusers themselves. And it's like, well, they were a victim. You understand that they were a victim of something, and they just perpetuated this whole cycle. So yes, a victim can be sympathized with, even if they do horrible acts. This is just like something like Chris Benoit, where it's just like his brain was so f***ed up from wrestling and doing all those headbutts and stuff. You understand where it comes from. Like, it's a horrible, totally horrible thing he did. But you can sympathize with his brain just being so f***ed up. They said it was something like a 300-year-old brain. Like, it was so ridiculously awful. So yes, a victim can do horrible things, and you can sympathize with the person that victimized somebody else.
This isn't our argument to make.
Yeah, this isn't our argument to make. It's really not. Like, I've never been a victim of sexual abuse or anything. Actually have.
I'm just saying I don't like Akechi.
I'm just going a broader scale.
I'm just going, I don't like Akechi, and that part was dumb. That's all.
Justice? And how exactly would Yusuke resemble Akechi? Yusuke didn't even know about the metaverse. And even though that Madarame was a...
He could have been a person like him, as in Shido. He is Akechi to the Shido. Madarame would have been a Shido, so he would have just been doing everything to please his master. Mm-hmm. Not that he would have been going around killing people in the metaverse. That's not what he means. It's a symbolic thing, dude.
Apparently funding Shido, he didn't know that either. Maybe he meant that he would have gone mad with the resentment for Madarame, but he still seems to have some respect for him now, even knowing how bad he really was. At least Ryuji reaffirms in his text that he's not forgiving Akechi, but then again, he seemed perfectly fine with the idea of...
Because he wasn't screaming at him and pissing in his mouth?
He's going, what do we do now? What are we gonna do? That's what he says. He's not like, let's cap this dude. He's going, what's the next steps?
Them and was the first one banging on the wall during Akechi's sacrifice, so who knows what is real and what is a mistake. To send
he doesn't want the guy dead, or he wants him to answer for his own crimes. Yeah, I don't know.
Card, they realize that a piece of paper won't do it, and we get one of the coolest scenes in the whole game, where Futaba hacks into every television screen in Japan to broadcast the message of the Phantom Thieves. They reveal that they were being framed for the killings, that Shido is the real perpetrator for these crimes, and then they finish off with a bang, having Joker step forward from their lineup in the shadows to unveil the truth behind his publicized suicide. From this point forward, things ramp up pretty quickly, and we also see that Shido is freaking out over the announcement and trying to cover up the truth. Sai gets reprimanded for what's happening, since she was the leader of the operation to capture Joker, and Sojiro gets arrested in LeBlanc as some government thugs search the place. The Phantom Thieves take their place in front of the Diet building to go take Shido's treasure, but Makoto has some doubts about what they're doing. Morgana reassures her by asking, have we ever acted outside of the scope of justice? That's a great question, Morgana. Let me think about it for a second.
Have we ever acted outside of the scope of justice?
Have we ever acted outside of the scope of justice?
What?
Have we ever acted outside of the scope of...
He was just in the game.
Have we...
Okay, What you're saying is you didn't punish everybody that you possibly could have punished. What Morgana is saying, has anything we've ever done been outside of the scope of justice? Not, hey, have we only done things to punish people for justice?
Outside of the scope of justice? Have we ever acted outside of the scope
What does that mean?
Have we ever acted outside of the scope of justice?
Pause. What was he doing that was immoral? That was not in line with justice?
Acted outside of the scope of justice.
You have a point.
In the palace, there's a big confrontation with Shido before the fight, where he talks about how he planned to kill Akechi once he became prime minister, says that he was chosen by God to do this, and proclaims himself as the only person fit to lead the country to greatness. The Phantom Thieves all air their grievances with him too, and they seem to make his treatment of Akechi a focal point in showing his evil. Once again,
Yeah, he abused this kid. That was his bastard son.
Yeah.
Forcing him to kill for him. Or, coercing him, which is forcing.
makes a teenager
FGC.
murder people. Seriously, what is with this game trying to redeem Akechi so hard?
Yeah, no, they
Yeah,
should have.
absolutely.
I've always felt that was heavy-handed.
Mhm.
And it made me hate him more.
Yep. It's the push. I don't like the push.
I don't think I would have hated Goro if it wasn't for that whole we're trying to redeem you at the last second thing. It's so hard. If it was just like he sacrificed himself, whatever, I wouldn't give a yeah, I don't like the push.
Yeah.
Let him just rest in the dirt as a psychopathic mass murdering loser. The boss fight with Shido is also pretty dull, and it comes in
Okay,
two separate
dull.
fights with multiple phases, but at the very least it doesn't have any gimmicks preventing you from winning and only relies on combat. For the first fight he becomes
How do you make
Char
it
from-
more interesting? What? They do make things more interesting by allowing you to not progress until a certain point is hit. But what do you want here? How do you make a boss battle more interesting? Does he summon thugs? Does he put up shields that blocks magic? What? I don't...
to you from winning.
Why are you using anything but your punch monkey stuff?
And only relies on combat. For the first fight, he becomes Char from Gundam and rides a golden lion thing.
Why are you using anything that's not your punch monkey stuff?
That transforms itself during the fight after you beat
They
his
are
golden
people holding him up.
monster. He reveals that he's actually just Senator Armstrong and hulks out midway through the fight,
Making the mother of all omelets here, Jack. Can't fret over every egg.
but still ends up losing anyways. Instead of fading away back into reality, the defeated Shido collapses and despairs because the real Shido has felt his heart change and takes a drug that will temporarily kill him. As the ship starts to explode, they take his treasure and run, everyone asking Futaba Morgana why the ship's exploding since it's apparently not supposed to happen, but as we've seen in the space station, a self-destruct system can exist in a palace and trigger.
Yeah, but he triggered it himself.
Yes. He said he was shown to trigger that thing. As opposed to this where something else happens with that's outside of the ordinary.
Before the owner fades away, so why would everyone not assume that Shido would also have a self-destruct system for his ship in
Okay, now we're just making assumptions. Now assumptions are bad, huh? Everything's bad when you need it to be bad and good when you need it to be good.
case he was defeated? In any case, they run away as fast as they can, but realize that their only chance of survival is getting on a lifeboat, and lifeboat controls are on the other side of the ship. Ryuji volunteers for this because one of his only notable aspects is his love of running and speed, despite him not joining the track team in his S-Sling. It manages to drop the lifeboat.
Pause. Why would he? We've already discussed this. I forgot.
Yeah.
For the rest of them, this is supposed to be his redeeming moment after being the fuck up of the group for the entire game, because almost every single situation has been caused by him, like you almost getting expelled by Kamoshida after he ran angrily into his room, or when Yusuke threatens to report you to the police because Ryuji was making a scene because Yusuke wouldn't give up Madarame and was covering for him, or when he was the reason why you had to work for Makoto because she got a recording of him saying he was a phantom thief, or when he said it was okay for everyone to just teleport into the palace.
How was that a problem? Nothing happened.
Nothing happened.
in the middle of the fucking plaza because of an analogy to garbage cans, which doesn't make any sense. Or when the game keeps telling you that he was the cause for the fight between Morgana and the Phantom Thieves, resulting in him leaving. Or when he charged that
Okay, it's not how it happened in the game, but it insisted. So why'd you say it? Why didn't you pause and go, hey, Future Civic here, this ain't what happened?
rage and almost compromised the whole mission, revealing that you were still alive, but luckily Shido somehow didn't know what any of you
Yeah, he never knew what you looked like.
So this is him screwing up something that had no adverse effects
You
on
picked-
anybody or anything.
You picked 3 potentially legit screw-ups, and then 3 non-legit screw-ups. What are you doing?
somehow didn't know what any of you looked like and didn't recognize who you were. Ryuji is no longer hanging from the lifeboat control lever, and to make sure you know he's dead, the ship explodes too, right where he was. In the lifeboat, the remaining Phantom Thieves make their way back to reality, but before we keep going, there's something I need to mention, and that's how they keep leaving these palaces. It's established early on in the game and later confirmed by Morgana that to leave these palaces, you need to be in the same spot you entered them from, but in this case, their lifeboat is
Just take her back to where we came in. That's how it worked last time, huh? Morgana doesn't even know how it works.
Yes, that's a question mark at the end.
That's how it worked last time, right?
I am asking for confirmation that this is how this thing works.
their lifeboat is floating away from the ship's wreckage, and they enter the palace through the ship's main deck. Even if they manage to find the coordinates of where they entered the ship from, their altitude shouldn't be high enough to make it back to where they entered, and we know that altitude does play a part in this since they fall out of the sky when coming back from Kanashiro's palace. It's worth mentioning that the only time that the game sticks to the rule of exiting the palace where you entered are in the first 2 palaces, Mementos, and the plan involving Sai's casino, where both Sai and Akechi had to walk
There's no rule to where you enter or exit a palace.
outside of the interrogation room. They enter Futaba's palace from the middle of nowhere in the desert and had to drive forever to reach the pyramid, but they never mention or are shown drive.
Do you really believe that they had to drive all the way back while the palace was collapsing? No.
I don't.
Driving all the way back. With the bank, they somehow drive from the vault in the deepest part of the bank back to the surface to drive off the edge of the UFO, but the elevator they took down there wasn't big enough to fit car form Morgana carrying all of the slabs of gold. And in the space station, a countdown timer for the explosion of the palace is happening, and the Phantom Thieves somehow find the time to get back through every airlock and the lunch break.
Pause. I remember you showed the time when you go, they had no time, even though they were, we had plenty of time. You showed like 18 minutes left. You said they had no time to turn around and look back. So now they have plenty of time? Do they have plenty of time? No time? What's the problem?
Back to the
Stop
entrance
making
before the
convenient arguments.
time is up, but wasn't enough time to get all the answers out of Haru's dad, so he got assassinated because he didn't fade back into reality while they watched him. The casino is ambiguous since it never starts to fall apart, and Joker does
Because they didn't steal the treasure.
get caught near the entrance where he came in from, and the rest of the Phantom Thieves would have also had to travel the same path later to leave. Another idea to add to the pile of things the game explicitly sets up
No.
and then proceeds only to utilize when it feels like it. Back outside of the
If anything, the one that's messed up is Kamoshida's. With them falling. But again, I don't even know.
Yeah, no.
That could have been misrepresented.
It 100% probably was.
These start
That doesn't
mourning
make sense.
Ryuji's death, and everyone has a sad and somber tone. But less than a minute into this, Ryuji yells something and walks on from out of frame, complaining about how palaces always explode. His friends question how he's alive here, and Ryuji gives us what is possibly one of the best explanations about how he survived. I was blasted out from the explosion, and when I woke up, I was lying out in the grass. What the fuck is this explanation? It doesn't actually clarify anything.
What do you mean? It blew up, and he got thrown away.
Yeah. I always thought that it would have been better if he had actually just died, just hit him with that
Oh, absolutely.
Persona 3, where it's just, oh, he's just dead. But I'm happy to see him back.
And if he somehow got blasted away from the explosion at the exact right angle that they came in from, he would still
Nope,
be
that's your
falling
perception.
That's your perception. And he didn't even, he wasn't where they were. So he came back from wherever he was.
from something like 10 stories. Even if he survived
And also,
both
in the casino where they go, okay, let's go head back. They're in front of an elevator, and it starts doing the circles of them leaving.
Mm-hmm.
So they didn't need to go back to the entrance of the casino.
Correct.
direct explosion and the fall, he should have broken bones all over his body and severe burns. But no, instead he's 100%.
Are we sure what happens over in that other world? Your injuries come back to this world? I'm certain if you die, you die. But are we certain that if you get, let's say, a cut on your face, it comes back to the real world?
Never seen that. The closest that we did was Morgana when he left the Phantom Thieves and Haru found him, but he was just sort of laid out.
Yeah, I can't tell you.
And not having any bruises or aches or anything, despite every single thing we know about how Palaces indicates he should be dead. And even Morgana.
Everything we know about Palaces indicate he should be dead based on what?
Yeah.
Palace knowledge, thinking that he was dead. To show their relief about their friend who they thought was dead not even seconds ago, but is actually completely fine, the Phantom Thieves decide their best course of action is to beat up Ryuji until he's unconscious on the floor and go get food, leaving him sprawled out, passed out in front of the Diet building, where Shido just had his change of heart and his guards know their identities for something that wasn't even Ryuji's fault in the first place. Seriously, this scene exists only to build fake tension and pay off for a big comedy joke, but no matter how you look at it, it comes off as bullshit. For once in the game, Ryuji...
Oh, there's a cut on his face.
Oh, look at that.
And it didn't appear in the real world.
Anyway, yeah, it was a comedy moment. Yeah, if you're friends with somebody for long enough, that's how I would react. I've always like, if I'm ever in a car crash or something, I wake up in the hospital, I'd be like, call my family. And then I'd be laid out and they're like, hey, is he all right? And I'm like, and just scare y'all. That's what I've always thought about doing. I was like, that'd be really funny. So yeah, and I'm sure you guys would be like, you piece of crap.
Absolutely. I would definitely kick any part of you that was broken.
Yeah, so that's a friend thing that's done. Oh, I'm glad you're alive, but you're acting so nonchalant about this.
When we were so worried.
That screw you, and you're getting your butt kicked. Now, the whole guards thing, we've already established that they weren't being watched. It's just a couple of kids right now in front of the place because they didn't recognize him when he was right in front of his face. So why would he recognize him now?
The only person they all recognize right now is Joker because he showed his face.
Does nothing wrong and he gets rewarded with being beaten up until he's unconscious. It's obvious that the writers were in love with characters who were bumbling idiots getting their redemption by sacrificing their life, since this scene comes shortly after Akechi does the same.
Akechi wasn't a bumbling idiot, he was a piece of crap.
Yes.
There's a difference.
What did he screw up in this entire game? He got tricked by a very convoluted, really smart plan, obviously, but that involved magic that he probably didn't even know was possible. So what did he do to bumble anything at this point?
But the scenario with Ryuji is weak and unfitting. They didn't even have the courage to commit to harming Ryuji at all after going out of their way to portray him as not having any chance of survival. Yet again,
no chance of survival based on what?
Yeah.
In cop-out. They cut to Shido's room where
I do agree it's a cop-out though. He should have died.
Change of heart was successful, and afterwards Joker and Futaba make their way back to LeBlanc, where everything in the store is overturned and broken, and as they're walking in, they hear a report on the TV about someone who has been kidnapped, brought to a different location, and killed in a painful way. Morgana and Futaba can't believe what they're seeing, and they start to cry. Damn, what a terrible way for Sojiro to go out. He was one of the best characters in the game. Oh,
did they say it
of
was
course he
Sojiro?
didn't actually die. He surprises them.
Didn't actually die based on what? Because the newscaster said something?
Said that somebody was killed in some location, and Futaba worried about her father went, oh crap, what if it's him?
And right after this, acting like everything is fine, because only in Persona 5 can you have the same scene of beloved characters dying for the hero's sake, but not actually dying twice.
Okay, no. You just implanted that Sojiro died.
Yes, no.
Futaba was just worried that it might have been Sojiro. We saw Ryuji hanging while an explosion was going on.
And for all intent and purposes, Akechi's dead.
Back to fucking back. Thank you, Persona 5 writers. It takes a true genius to come up with the trick of doing the same thing twice in a row the exact same way. To get a cheap reaction.
Not the exact same way. Ryuji looked definitively dead.
And the newscaster says somebody died somewhere.
can't actually write anything with any weight to it. Sojiro asks you to help him clean up, and then that's that. This is never brought up ever again. Shido's arc is brought to an end on the election day when he confesses to everything that he has done after winning the election, and the Phantom Thieves celebrate. Joker can finally go to school again, and Shido's lackeys freak out over what they're going to do before deciding to keep going with the plan of controlling people's hearts to shape the country. I guess they don't need Akechi for that anymore. All is not well with the Phantom Thieves, however, since some
Yeah, maybe there's others. Or maybe they'll find somebody. They obviously know enough about it.
happening, and the public's reaction doesn't seem to match the magnitude of events, and the trust in Cheeto is undeterred by his public confession, the Phantom Thieves' announcements. As the Phantom Thieves and their allies notice how strange the public has been, they come to the conclusion that everyone is experiencing a shared delusion. They also learn that there are people in high places all over society trying to cover for Shido, and that if they don't act fast, they're all going to go down. So the only option they have is to steal the root of all of society's distortion down in the depths of Mementos. Morgana warns them that they'll be bringing the entirety of the metaverse down, and this will truly be the end of them. But no one seems to be bothered by this, and they all decide to go down to Mementos the next day. You better...
Nobody seems to be bothered by this. Haru will have to discard this way of life looking sad.
Nobody cut. He just wait. Whatever. And cut. And cut.